Hey, what's up? My name's Grant Kanoki. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, and artist, and you're listening to Power 98.5.
We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5. You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your number one resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Hi, this is Dan Aykroyd. He's progressive. He's beautiful. He's thoughtful. He's intelligent. He's powerful. He's positive. He is Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Okay, let's go.
Empowering listeners from the US to the UK. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
The response has been golden, and I'm going to tell you, people love my friend, Andrew Walker. He's been, or more specifically, starred in 21 films on the Hallmark Channel. He looks like Justin Hartley from the hit TV show This Is Us. You just can't get any more perfect. And someone so wholesome who developed and did a juice line. He's a dad, a husband, family man. He's really is one of the most heart-centered person I have met in a very, very long time. And you know what? I've never even heard him use a cuss word. And that's a first for me. Now, I love dropping the F-bomb from time to time, but this guy, I'm telling you, Andrew is truly amazing. You're going to find out a lot from him, a lot about him, what he's doing, what he's getting involved in, what is up and coming for him. So thank you to all my listeners from here and all around the world. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephen. I have to say, I love the way Dan Aykroyd describes you. That is the perfect depiction of the person you are. I haven't met you in person yet, but every time we've spoken, you're such a positive person yourself. And yeah, I love a good F-bomb myself. Yeah. But now I'm a little bit more, cognizant of when I use it. I'm always in the car with my kids, so I've been trained not to use it as much as I used to. So I'm in the thick of it right now with a 1.5-year-old and a 6-year-old at the house. I just really have to watch everything now, which is good. I think that's the best thing about being a parent is it's a lot of self-reflection and just and growth and being a little more aware.
And I was very cognizant of when we are on a phone, especially when you were in your car, I'm thinking, all right, children, if I was a parent, how would I feel? So I'm even mindful of myself when speaking to you. So whether I know if I'm on a Bluetooth or speaker or whatever, I'm going to definitely be mindful as well when we chat.
Anyways, thank you very, very much for having me on the show. I'm very excited, and I really appreciate the support. I appreciate you being interested in my career and me as a person.
It's a long time running for you. You've been at this. You are a professional. You're not an amateur. You know what you're doing. 21 films plus and counting. Your IMDb is so long. I think longer than most people's profile on LinkedIn. I mean, it's that. Yeah, it's that detailed, and that your roster is very, very impressive. Bring us up to speed and let us know, where did you begin? How did Hallmark come into play, and what's next for you?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, about my IMDb page. I think around 30 films ago, I was still not convinced that I was an actor. I had done around 43 projects at that point, up, from different TV series to pilots to movies. And I, I had identified so much. And it's funny, I think Justin Hartley's story is the same as mine in a way, where he was or at least his story on This Is Us. He was a football player, got injured. I haven't seen the show, unfortunately, but I think this is what happened. He's a football player, got injured, and then had to stop playing. That was same deal with me. I was a football player my whole all my adolescent years, all my real formidable years. And so I identified as an athlete, as a high performance athlete, which I think helped a lot in my preparation for things, and how I approach projects, and how I approach my business and my life, my marriage, just work ethic, But I'll rewind, to answer the question. Really, is I started, and I give all credit to my mom. I was in a lunchtime drama program, and my teacher at the time was starting an agency. I was probably around 11, 12 at the time. And my dad was the athlete. He was like, no, you shouldn't, don't have him go into acting. Let him stay in sports. His brother was an actor, or is an actor. His brother had a little bit of a struggle, in his early part of his career. And I think he saw that, and he didn't want me to have the same thing or go down the same road. And, but my mom kept on pushing me in the arts. My mom is an incredible pianist, played all by ear, doesn't know how to read music, but she's a jazz pianist. And, she pushed me to stay in and kind of pursue this acting, or kind of, go deeper into my, to this acting bug that I had. And so my teacher my drama teacher started sending me out for auditions when I was, around that age. And I booked the second project that I went out on. And I actually have to go back and give credit to my dad as well, because he would take time out of his job. He was a school administrator, to drive me downtown Montreal. I'm originally from Montreal, Canada. He would drive me downtown to do these auditions. And after I'd started booking a couple projects, he was like, "Oh, wow, this is some good money you can put aside for college or whatever else he wants to do." So he saw that there was, there's a good reason behind it at that age. And then just kind of snowballed. And so I was kind of like I very much in line with who I am, a Gemini. And I do need a lot of stimulation from different, sources in my life. And so I was, playing football, playing my sports, doing my swimming and water polo and all the stuff that I was doing as a kid, and really kind of going deep into, to the acting world. And Montreal is such an unbelievable city when it comes to the arts. And I think it really, it's a testament to the talent that comes out of Montreal and Toronto. It's a real safe place for actors, for musicians. I feel like the community really gets behind artistry. And there's we have our Fringe Festival, and we have the Jazz Festival and the Comedy Festival, and we have all these, it's the two of the largest in the world, all based in Montreal as well. So just growing up around this culture there was really enriching my acting. And then at 19 years old, I had a few scholarships, and I chose to go to Boston College. I committed to Boston College, and I tore my ACL about a week into camp and lost the scholarship. And I was a little bit in the void, very much in the void, and didn't know what I was going to be doing next. But the first thing that I just focused on was just rehabbing my knee. At the same time, I was like, well, I guess I'll just continue to go out for auditions. And the universe works in miraculous ways. And I ended up booking one of the first jobs that I went out on after my rehab, or midway through my rehab. And that series brought me through two seasons. And at 20 years old, I ended up 2020, just about turning 21. I decided to jump in a car with my buddy that I had worked with on this series, and we took off to Los Angeles. And I've never looked back. I've been here now for 21 years, and started booking projects. I had a real lucky kind of string of projects that I'd booked right when I landed in Los Angeles. I did a TV series here called Maybe It's Me. Fred Willard played my dad. Julia Sweeney, who was Pat on Saturday Night Live, was played my mother, and it was a big ensemble cast. And working with two actors of that stature, they just they were nurturing and kind and creative, like I'd never seen before. Fred Willard, you'd just let him riff at the end. They wouldn't call cut. The scene would end, and Fred would keep going for another 5 minutes, and they would just use little cuts of or portions of what he was saying, of what he was ad-libbing. And I just started seeing this on what you could potentially do, and it just really opened my eyes to how creative and how loose you could be. And this was obviously a half-hour comedy, but it was a single camera half-hour comedy that I was doing. So it was tons of fun, and the creators of the show it was Suzanne Martin and Jeff Martin. Suzanne Martin won an Emmy for Frasier. She wrote for Frasier, and then her husband wrote for The Simpsons. He was one of the main writers behind The Simpsons. So you put them together, and you get some of the best writing on TV. So just starting from that show, and then it kind of snowballed, and I never thought that I was going to get into the Hallmark world. Actually, how I got into the Hallmark scene, or the Hallmark family, as we call it, because it really is a family. I decided, and I've always been, look, throughout the years, it has definitely not been picture perfect. Like, I have decided I've wanted to be out. I've wanted to quit acting multiple times, and just for the young listeners out there, it's just about perseverance, and it's a very tough industry, obviously, but I feel like when you put the time and effort behind becoming a well-rounded or a better actor, you become a more well-rounded human being. And I think it's I worked with an actor named David Strathairn, who was nominated for an Academy Award for Good Night and Good Luck. He played Edward R. Murrow, and he'd always said through interviews, and then just listening to him on the junket, the press junket that we did for this indie film that we did, he was always like, well, acting's an inside-outside thing, where you have to be a better person to be a better actor, and you have to listen more, and you have to, all these great, actors who are incredible listeners, and they just know a lot about different subjects and different types of people. And so I ended up, so just to go back to how I got into the Hallmark world, I at the time I was at another junction in my life where I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to act anymore. But my wife and I had this opportunity to open up. It was the location that we were the most interested in, next to our favorite hot yoga studio here in Los Angeles called Moto. There are about 120 of them across Canada. They used to be called Moksha Yogas. They rebranded to Moto. But they had a space that they were signing on, a second location that was attached to their current location, one of the hottest yoga studios in Los Angeles at the time. And we were friends with the owners, and they were like, we took on this extra space, and my wife and I went back that night, and we said, do you think we should approach them and see if they want to carve out a few hundred square feet so we could do a health and wellness concept? And so we went back the next day, and we had a little wine with them in the evening, and we're like, hey guys, what do you think about us carving out a couple hundred square feet, and we do this maybe a juice concept or a smoothie concept? And they agreed to it, and they said, guys, we would love that. We only want to focus on yoga. You can focus on the health bar concept. And so my wife and I ended up opening up this juice shop. Originally it was called Clover, and I decided at the time, I was like, well, I'll take 6 months off acting, and I'll get this thing up and going, and it'll kind of get me, it'll realign my thinking again, maybe stimulate me, in other ways that can, that I can use to get, reignite my interest back in the acting business. And so 6 months turned to a year turned to a year and a half. Still I didn't book any jobs during this time. I started resenting my juice business at this point. I was like, oh my God, man, I've bit off more than I could chew. I haven't worked in a year and a half now. And then all of a sudden I get a call from my manager, and he's like, hey, you got this offer to do a movie for the Hallmark Channel. And I was like, Hallmark Channel. I thought they only do greeting cards. And he's like, no, they're really starting to, they do decent, decent movies, and they're great storylines. And, but anyways, he sent me the script. I read it. I was like, yeah, why don't I go, I'll go do it. Went up to Vancouver, and I ended up finding out that the director is the one that put my name in. He was the one that put the name into Crown Media, the parent company here, parent company of Hallmark Channel. And, he saw the movie that I did with David Strathairn, where I played a neo-Nazi skinhead. I don't know to this day what he saw in me as a leading man for Hallmark movies in that movie I did, but nonetheless, he picked me in that role. It was a movie called A Bride for Christmas. I was working with an actress named Ariel Kebbel, and the movie ended up doing really well for Hallmark, and they called me like 6 months later to do another movie with them. And then 3 months after that movie, I got another call. And so it just started. They started calling me to do 2 to 3 movies a year, and Hallmark movies not only, reignited my acting and just allowed me to continue to act, but they also helped in my business. I would go do a project for Hallmark, and I would come back and I would put, 40-50% of my paycheck back into the business so we could survive. And so it was just a blessing in so many ways. And now I am very much integrated into the Hallmark family. I've produced a bunch of films for them. I've had an overall deal with them where I do a certain amount of films with the Hallmark channel every year. And it's just been it's kind of like an old studio deal that they now do with their actors, and they take such good care of their actors, actresses, their crews, directors. I mean, the whole team, everyone. It's such a happy environment, and it's such a great, healthy environment to work in. So that, in a very large nutshell, is where we are, up until this point today, and how I've become a Hallmark, leading man, and kind of where my business has gone.
And with that, you've been on The Big Bang Theory. You've been on several other, like, not just films, but television shows as well.
I have, yeah. I've done the gamut, all the CSIs, New York, Miami,
Sabrina
ER,
the Teenage Witch.
Without a Trace. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I did 13 episodes. So just, I've done, plenty of Lifetime movies, plenty of Netflix movies. And, that's kind of, people ask. I had an acting coach that asked me a long time ago. He's like, well, what kind of actor you want to be? You want to be a star? Or you just want to work? And I think it was just a trick question. He was like, just wanted to hear what I had to say. And I just, at that time, I was like, I just want to work. And that's really what it is. I just want to work. I just want to continue to work as an actor, and obviously do projects that are, now, I say this now, but I love doing it. Look, don't get me wrong. I love doing a good, gritty film that has, that has suspense thrillers, or, I like that genre. But to do, and I have multiple friends that work on TV series, very successful TV series, but they're going into work every day, and they're, solving crimes, and, working in a real dark environment, and they have to tap into these characters that are very heavy. And I'm going to work every day, and I'm basically I'm in a Christmas wonderland. I'm falling in love with a very talented actress, beautiful females I get to work with, beautiful leading ladies, and great, high quality, talented actors out of Vancouver and other parts of the U.S. And I just, it's a real blessing, where my career has kind of led me today.
And you're consistent. That's what's really interesting, because not everyone is consistent and steady right now with working. And you've got an upcoming project on Hallmark. if memory serves me correctly, are you producing, and directing? What can you give as a little bit of a taste or detail for us about this?
Yes. So this one, this upcoming movie called My Christmas Family Tree, I'm not producing. I produced a project for Hallmark called Love in Design, starring Danica McKellar. A lot of people would know her as Winnie on the Wonder Years, but I was very lucky to get to play across from Danica, and she's super collaborative. So it was a nice project for me to be producing, because I almost felt like I was co-producing it with her. She brought so much to the table. But this one, My Christmas Family Tree, is not one I produced. It's a big ensemble cast, and so it's very different to a lot of what a lot of Hallmark movies. And this is what's so awesome about Hallmark, is they're kind of moving with the times, and they're seeing what people are looking for now, and they're tailoring their stories and the types of actors they're hiring, and kind of broadening that the whole gamut of people that they're hiring now. It's a lot of interracial, biracial stuff. They're same-sex marriage, and it's beautiful that to show love has no boundaries. And so the storylines too, this ensemble cast, it's about the foster, it's about foster care, and the leading lady in it is Amy Teagarden from Friday Night Lights. Super talented actress, and another actor named James Tupper, who plays her father, her birth father. But Amy Teagarden's character, I don't want to give too much away, but she basically does a DNA test, one of these like 23andMe DNA tests. She works in foster care, and she grew up in the foster care system as well. And she decides, well, I'm going to do one of these 23andMe's. And she realizes that her birth father is in a 45, 50 mile radius of where she lives. So she decides to reach out to him. He says, well, what are you doing this Christmas? Why don't you come stay with the family and let's just get to know each other. And my character, Christopher, is my father he did a couple tours with James Tupper's character. James Tupper is an actor. He was on the show Revenge. He was on Big Little Lies. He played Zoe Kravitz's husband on Big Little Lies. Very talented actor, and just a gem of a guy as well. We've become friends now since that project. And so he and my father in this movie were in a couple tours in Afghanistan, Iraq. And my parents, my mom and dad, were in a car accident when I was 22. They pass away, and so his family takes me under their wing. So I go and I spend Christmas at their house as well. So I'm living in one room. Amy Teagarden's character is living in another room, and we end up, in true Hallmark fashion, we end up falling in love. But the movie it's got, when you talk about heart, this movie has so much heart to it, and it's a storyline that Hallmark hasn't really ventured into. So I'm excited to hear what viewers have to say about it when they see it. And it airs November 13th on the Hallmark Channel.
What are your best Hallmark memories?
Wow. 21 films, 7 years. There's been a lot. I feel like every film that I do on the Hallmark Channel is its own little journey, is its own. The people that I get to work with. I mean, really, I've worked with a couple of the same actresses a few times. Nikki DeLoach is somebody that I've been paired up with a couple times, and Bethany Joy Lenz, another actress, very talented actress from One Tree Hill. I've worked with her. I've worked with her on a Lifetime movie and a Hallmark movie. But I think some of my more memorable moments on Hallmark movies are when we really get a chance. And this is the beauty of working for Hallmark, is that now that I've done a string of films with them, they allow us such creative control. Like I'll rewrite almost an entire scene with these actresses that I've been able to work with. I did a movie with Bethany Joy Lenz. It's called Bottled with Love. We rewrote an entire scene, kind of stimulated by Joy, and I joke with her. She's like the script doctor, but she and I we worked on rewriting the scene in the film. It was a scene where it's a reveal scene where it's basically kind of like You've Got Mail, and it's the reveal scene of her being the other person I'm speaking to through this dating, or through this site, this like dating site, and the reveal for her as well. And so we changed the whole scene up, and it was unbelievable. It ended up being like one of the most watched films for Hallmark to date. And I really feel like because we had that creative input, and we were so ingrained in the whole process of building out that scene, I think that it just came across as just a lot more real, and Nikki DeLoach and I do the same thing. We'll sit together 2 weeks before we shoot the project, and we did a movie called Sweet Autumn most recently together, and we were able to do the same thing. We rewrote a lot of the scenes, and actually quarantine helped with that, because we're sitting in our hotel rooms individually, and we just get on Zoom with the director out of Winnipeg named Gary Yates. And Gary is an actor's director, and he really loves working with the actors and creating a safe creative space for the actors on set as well. So he really and he's like, okay, guys, you have to start the scene here in this mark, and you have to finish the scene over there. Just show me how it would play out, how it would run. And so we just, that's the way Gary does his blocking. And then once we're good with the blocking, he'll bring in the cameras, and he'll be like, okay, guys, just, mark them through their blocking, and this is where they're going to start. This is where they're going to end. And it feels very fluid, and it's got good flow to it, So I think couple movies, Sweet Autumn and Bottled with Love, are probably two movies that stand out, because we were given a lot of this creative control, and there was moments, nuance that you can't, on paper, it just doesn't play out the same way as when you have freedom of ad lib and just finding these moments. I think that's the beauty of acting, right? It's just like being in a vulnerable state and just being able to find that connection with with the people you're working with. And the girls that I get to work with in Hallmark, they're all so confident and creative and open, we're able to have these moments of connection on camera that you can't write, you can't take off a page necessarily.
I hope you're proud of yourself. I mean, with everything that you're accomplishing, a husband, a dad, living at your best, you really have done a lot. And I am not just airbrushing this. You've done a lot, extraordinarily a lot, for such a short period of time. Have you ever reflected about what you've accomplished in your life, what you've unexpectedly maneuvered through without premeditation or planning?
Thank you, Stephen. I mean, I think I reflect back on the times I've failed a lot that have brought me to where I am today. And I am so grateful that I have such a solid partner in life. My wife is, I'm crazy. I'm a true Gemini. I need a lot of different types of stimulation in my life. And and she's just the rock. I'm an idea person. I think that's why we do so well in business and how we've gotten so far in our juice business. Is that I have ideas and she puts them into action, and then she's consistently follows through on that action. I'm more of I instigated, or I just, I have these ideas, these bursts of ideas, and then I kind of like I pull back a little bit, and I create another one, and then I pull back and I create another one, and then I get I come back to it, I circle back around. But to answer your question, I'm my wife and I, not a day goes by. And I think that we say this to our kids, where you choose happiness, you choose it. Our son, my 6-year-old, wakes up today, and my wife is gone right now. And we'll do like a night, and my wife does the same thing, where he'll get to sleep with my wife one night, and then he's back with his brother the next night, and he sleeps, so every second night he gets to, go into our bed. So last night he slept with me, and we had a little moment of cuddling this morning. I'm hugging him, and he's passed out and doesn't really know what's happening, but he just wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And I go and I sit down with him, and I'm like, buddy, you choose how you want to wake up today. And I think that's something that, as we all move through life, there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of blockages, a lot of blockages in people's lives. And it's how you choose to move through that. And I think that my wife and I, we really try hard in the things that we can control. One, we can control what we consume, what we put in our body. I think that's a major thing. I think that's a major thing for mental health and depression. I think if you consume good foods, if you consume, for example, our juices, we have a lot of juices that don't have any sweetness in them. We have a lot of juices that, that are pure, it's kale, spinach, E3 Live, spirulina. There's one called the Detox Greens. It's one of my more favorite juices. I have a couple of those every day. I eat a good balanced meal. I have, I eat a lot of greens. I try to go to bed at my sleep patterns, that's something I can control. Some people can't, it's your job might not allow for that. But then there's other parts of your life that you can control to help when you do get to sleep. If you can only sleep 6 hours a night or, 7 hours a night, you have a deeper sleep because of the things that you choose to do in your day. And also the way you treat other people. It is a real pay it forward type of mentality that I try to have that in my life, where I treat a store clerk or a grocery, somebody bagging my groceries, or, the guy at the rental car shop or whatever, I think that really helps. And it definitely perpetuates, in life. So, I try to choose happiness, and every single day. Do I not succeed sometimes? Yeah, I definitely don't succeed 100% of the time, but I'm not a day goes by that my wife and I we don't say how grateful we are in where we are in our life. And I feel like we're in a pocket right now that is so good and so positive. And it just, it really is a pocket, because I know there's going to be struggle again, but knowing that there is going to be struggle makes you that much more grateful for being in the moments of harmony, and so I really feel very fortunate, grateful that we are in this moment right now.
What would you say or like to share with the audience? What best advice can you give from what you've learned, from what you felt or thought of were mistakes that help define who you are as a man, as a professional, as a father? All in one, what are you most grateful for to have learned in your life?
I think you're defined, especially off a year or 18 months, the 2 years of the pandemic. I think you're really defined as you're defined in how you handle yourself in struggle, and as a parent. I know there's a lot of parents that were very hard on themselves and their kids and their families throughout the pandemic. It was a very, very difficult, time to go through, and we're just getting out of it, I feel like now. But, I have, with certain decisions I've made with our business as well, that potentially might not have worked out for certain investors. I have to have blame fall back on me for certain things that I've done. And you just have to, it made me stronger. And it also, it defined me in who I am as how I dealt with that, and how I dealt with with these people, and how I dealt with my kids during the pandemic. And if I said something that maybe I shouldn't have said, or reacted a way I shouldn't have reacted, well, I identify that and I call that out. And and I feel like that's how it's not about the wins are great. The wins are great, but it's how you react in the times of, the difficult times. And I think that's something that, it doesn't cling on to you. It just makes you a more well-rounded person. And it gives you more credibility too. Like, I can tell stories now. I can say, hey, I did this, and this was the wrong move, and I shouldn't have done that. And I feel like, I've learned my lesson, and this is what I've learned from it. And so I feel like, let yourself define who you are through how you get through the difficult times, and don't let it, don't let it fester. just don't be hard. A lot of people are so hard on themselves, but you sit with it, identify it, and learn from it, and then move on. And I think that's a big lesson that I've learned, especially over this past year or two in with the pandemic.
I appreciate you sharing that. Are there any shout outs that you would like to give at the moment, Andrew?
I would, yeah. Thanks, Stephen. I want to first and foremost give a shout out to you. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and I really, really appreciate it. To your viewers for listening, thanks, guys. I want to give a shout out to my wife. She, my rock. She's a pretty special human being, person. I feel fortunate. She's dating down for sure. I'm lucky to be with her. And my whole Little West team, the Hallmark family, my Hallmark family, and just lots of shout outs, man. I got, there's this, I could be here the whole day. And to our friend Marcos for putting us together, for getting us together, Stephen. Marcos is a special guy.
He wanted me to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate him linking us up.
He wanted to share with me, let me see here. I want to give you exactly, don't want to paraphrase here. So Marcos, send him my warm regards. And I said, I will.
Thank you, Marcos. Thank you, sir.
Anything else you want to add in before we close out, Andrew? Anything that, you want to drop about the juice? Anything with Hallmark?
Yeah, so you can find our juice. We do national. We are a national company. We ship nationwide. It's littlewest.com. And we have a promo code that's called Friends and Family. It's the ampersand sign of and. Friends and Family 15 for 15% off discount. So go on there, and it's all capitals. Friends and ampersand sign Family 15, all caps for 15% off. And at my Hallmark, like I said mid interview, my Hallmark movie, My Christmas Family Tree, is coming out November 13th, and I believe it's 8 Central that it airs. But check your local listings again for that time. But it's November 13th, My Christmas Family Tree.
I appreciate that, Andrew. Hold the line. We're going to close out. I want to thank everyone for tuning in from here and all around the world, live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5. Little West, LITTLEWST.com. I'm on the website right now. It's clean. It's crisp. It has a lot of information. The juice looks incredible. Love the packaging. Love the branding. And I'm not just saying that, Andrew. It looks really clean, really good, and most importantly, really thought out.
Thank you. That's every bottle. This was all recipes from our kitchen, and our main focus is sourcing. We source all local farms, hyper local, and it really is. I think that you can taste it, and then we say you can taste the difference. We put a lot of love behind how we bottle our juice.
And where is it manufactured out of? Is it California?
Yeah, California in Long Beach.
All right. And it's cold pressed.
It's cold pressed. We have a saying. We do 48 hours farm to bottle. We purchase our produce. Our produce doesn't sit in a warehouse for days on end before we juice it. We actually buy direct from our farms, and we are juicing our produce because you cut a piece of kale and immediately it's starting to lose nutrients right when you cut it from the roots. So we juice it within 48 hours from harvesting it. And every bottle has some nuance of health benefits to it, whether it be like our watermelon juice has watermelon rind in it, which is the highest source of potassium. It also has very low sugar content for a watermelon, strawberry, mint, lime, and jicama juice. And we do like lots of turmeric and ginger, anti-inflammatory properties in our juices. So check out the site, tons of information there. And you can follow us as well on Instagram at Little West. And we focus a lot on information and education with our consumers. So they just know what's going into our bottles, why we do what we do, how we do what we do.
Super impressed. Thank you, Andrew. Once again, we're going to close out. I'm going to have a little chat with you after we close out. Once again, live on air with Stephen Cuoco, 200 countries. Thank you for all the love and support from everyone near and far, and for really coming on and supporting Andrew Walker as well as me today, this afternoon. Friday, already, it's the weekend. You guys, I hope you've got something planned, something great, something that's really going to be able to put some quality time into you. I believe with holiday season just around the corner, people are going to need to remind themselves about self-care. So thanks again. Love you. And have a great weekend.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.